every game you go into it, try and just highlight guys. Miles got a game ball. I thought it was probably pretty worthy. But you're just constantly trying to recognize your guys. We spent time this morning as well pointing out all of our guys and the jobs they did out, point out Gage having a big punt return, which was huge for our team.
Don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. Let me be real with you. That wasn't just a missed game ball. That was a message. You don't walk into a locker room after your rookie quarterback just snapped a curse that's been hanging over your franchise for damn near 2 decades and pretend like it's business as usual. You don't watch a kid walk into Las Vegas in his first real shot, on the road, under all that pressure, and then act like his performance was just some footnote to the defense. That's not a slip-up. That's a choice. Because think about the moment we all just watched. On one side, you've got Kevin Stefanski standing in the middle of the locker room holding the game ball up and giving it straight to Myles Garrett. Now listen, nobody with a brain is saying Myles didn't deserve love. 5 sacks? That's insane. That's a game wrecker. That's Defensive Player of the Year type stuff. But this wasn't just any random Week 11 win. This was history. This was a rookie quarterback walking into a city that has been terrified of that position for years and saying, "Relax, I got this." And the one guy who's supposed to stand on the table for him couldn't even say his name. And while Stefanski is up there talking about highlighting guys, playing good football, defense this, coverage that, you've got Andrew Berry in that same locker room doing the complete opposite. No microphones, no podium, no coach speak. Just a GM walking up to Shedeur and hugging him like he just delivered a playoff win. That wasn't just a congratulations, that was a statement. That was, "You're my guy. I believe in you. Don't worry about the noise." That contrast right there is why this moment blew up. On one side, cold, guarded, almost scared to lean in. On the other side, all in belief. And you don't get that kind of split by accident. That's pressure. That's insecurity. That's a philosophical divide inside the building, starting to crack through the surface where the fans can see it. So now the questions start to pile up. Why is the head coach so hesitant to publicly stand behind the quarterback that just made him look good? Why is the GM so confident, so vocal, so comfortable putting his arm around this kid? And why does it feel like Shedeur's first real win is less about one game and more about a power shift inside the Cleveland Browns? Because trust me, that game ball didn't just stay out of Shedeur's hands. It cracked open something way bigger. And if you think this is just about one awkward post-game moment, wait until we start talking about where Shedeur really stands inside this organization. You want to know where Shedeur Sanders really stands in this organization? Forget the press conferences. Forget the carefully rehearsed lines. Forget the "we're highlighting guys" nonsense. The truth isn't in the podium answers. It's in the reactions, the whispers, the body language, the locker room energy. And right now, Shedeur is sitting at the center of the biggest crossroads the Browns have faced in years. Because inside that locker room, those players feel something different with this kid. You can see it in the way they dap him up, the way veterans look him in the eye, the way the offense suddenly carries itself with a little more calm, a little more swagger. That stuff doesn't happen for quarterbacks who are just placeholders. That happens when the roster senses a guy who can steady the ship, a guy who doesn't panic, a guy who walks into chaos and sees opportunity instead of pressure. And then there's Andrew Berry, the man who drafted him, the man who hugged him like he just found the franchise's missing piece. Berry isn't discreet about this. He sees Shedeur as the future, not a project, not a bridge, not a developmental experiment, the future. The GM has already made his bet, and he made it with conviction. Meanwhile, the city of Cleveland, man, you can feel the hunger. You can feel the desperation for someone, anyone, who can finally erase the ghosts of all the quarterbacks who've come and gone since 1999. And when Shedeur stepped onto that field and didn't look rattled, didn't fold under pressure, didn't freeze the way so many rookies have, fans felt that. It felt real. It felt different. But the national media, they're split. Half of them are buying the vision, the calm, the poise, the leadership. The other half are still caught up in narratives about Colorado, about expectations, about whether he can translate. It's the same hesitation people had with C.J. Stroud before he lit the league on fire. The same doubt some had about Brock Purdy being more than a system guy. The same questions Anthony Richardson faced before he even played a full game. That line between hype and hesitation is thin, and Shedeur's walking right across it. Yet despite all that momentum, you've still got Kevin Stefanski and his offensive staff acting cautious, guarded, almost uncomfortable. And that's what makes this whole thing so strange. Because when you find a quarterback who passes the eye test this quickly, the poise, the mechanics, the decision-making, the leadership, resisting him becomes a red flag. A big one. And if this is what Shedeur looks like now, imagine what he becomes once the whole building finally gets behind him. Look, let's not pretend this whole situation came out of nowhere. The tension didn't magically appear the moment Shedeur won that game. The seeds were planted way earlier, back when he first touched an NFL field. And if we're being honest, a lot of the hesitation around him didn't even start in Cleveland. It started in Colorado. It started with the narratives, the labels, the people who decided, months before the draft, that Shedeur Sanders was raw, or not ready, or a product of hype. That noise followed him into the league, and you can still feel traces of it in how this coaching staff treats him. Because let's rewind to Baltimore, his first real NFL action. 4 of 16, 47 yards, 1 pick, ugly, nobody's sugarcoating it. It wasn't the debut you brag about. And for some coaches, especially old school guys like Stefanski, that kind of start sticks. It imprints. It makes them cautious, hesitant, maybe even defensive. Add in the fact he's coming from a college offense people questioned for months? Yeah. You better believe some folks in that building were ready to chalk him up as another project quarterback. And then there's the durability question, the hits he took in college, the pressure he played under, the fact that during his very first NFL game, his house was being burglarized. Imagine that. Imagine trying to process coverages while knowing your home, your safety, your privacy is being violated. And yet, he never made excuses, never brought it up, never played the sympathy card. He just kept grinding. But the pressure doesn't just come from performance. It comes from his last name. Being a Sanders means expectations are heavy. Eyes are everywhere, and every mistake becomes a headline. Some coaches thrive with that kind of player. Others shrink. And let's be real. Stefanski's public behavior hasn't exactly screamed confidence. Praising everyone except the quarterback who made history. Refusing to even say his name in a direct question? That's not strategy, that's discomfort. That's a man feeling the heat. And this is where the battle lines get real. On one side, you've got a coaching staff clinging to caution, clinging to old school thinking, clinging to control. On the other, you've got a GM who sees the future unfolding right in front of him. Fear versus confidence, safety versus belief, past versus potential. And here's the twist. Shedeur thrives on this. He's built for pushback, built for doubt, built for proving people wrong. But even the strongest quarterbacks can get dragged down when the resistance is coming from inside their own building. And if Cleveland isn't careful, this internal tug of war could become the one thing that slows him down. So the real question now is, does this kid keep rising in spite of the doubt, or because of it? You know what's wild? We're not talking about potential anymore. We're not talking about maybe one day. We're watching the breakthrough happen right in front of us, in real time, and half the NFL world still hasn't caught up to it. Because everything people doubted about Shedeur, the poise, the toughness, the leadership, he's flipping those narratives on their head every single week. Think about the environment he walked into. Cleveland, a franchise where quarterbacks don't survive, let alone thrive. A franchise that's eaten up rookies, journeymen, first-rounders, and fan favorites for decades. And this kid strolls in like the chaos doesn't bother him, like the pressure doesn't reach him, like he's been playing in the league for years. That calm, that confidence, that's not normal for a rookie stepping into a broken quarterback culture. That's special. And it's not just vibes. The man just broke a rookie milestone that's been haunting the Browns since 2007. A road debut win, first start, first shot. And instead of flinching, he put together one of the cleanest, most composed rookie performances we've seen in a Browns uniform in years. 1 sack, controlled pocket movement, 0 panic. That's how you win over a locker room, quietly, consistently, by showing up in the moments when everyone expects you to fold. Ask the veterans, they feel it. You can see the way guys gravitate toward him. Not because he's loud, not because he's flashy, but because he carries himself like someone who understands the responsibility of this position. Calm in the huddle, steady on the sideline, focused in practice. This is the exact leadership DNA that quarterbacks like C.J. Stroud and Jalen Hurts walked into the league with. That same, I don't need to talk about it, I'll show you energy. Then you look at Andrew Berry. The belief is obvious, the respect is real, the support is intentional. GMs don't hug every rookie. They don't pick sides lightly. But Shedeur has earned that faith, not with sound bites, not with hype, but with maturity and control way beyond his age. And the craziest part? He's handling all of this while dealing with personal chaos behind the scenes. His home gets robbed mid-game, and he doesn't flinch, doesn't complain, doesn't make a scene. He stays professional, stays focused, stays locked in. That's not surviving adversity. That's turning adversity into fuel. And the more you watch him, the more you realize, this isn't a story about a rookie trying to hang on. This is the rise of a franchise quarterback who's growing stronger because of the pressure, not in spite of it. And if this is the version of Shedeur we're getting at the very beginning, imagine what's coming next. Let me tell you exactly what this moment means. Not just for Shedeur, not just for Kevin Stefanski, not just for Andrew Berry, but for the entire city of Cleveland. Because what we're watching right now isn't some random mid-season storyline. This is the kind of moment franchises look back on years later and say, yeah, that's when everything changed. And honestly, I'm going to call it out right now. This is the beginning of something massive, because think about the pieces that are already falling into place. You've got a GM who's not just supportive, he's invested, emotionally, personally, publicly. You don't hug a rookie quarterback like that unless you've already decided he's the foundation you're building on. And front office belief, that outweighs coaching hesitation every single time. Coaches come and go. GMs are the architects. And Andrew Berry has already drawn the blueprint for this team's future. And Shedeur Sanders is right at the center of it. And here's the part everyone wants to ignore. Adversity like this is what forges great quarterbacks. Go look back at the early stories of stars. Jalen Hurts getting benched in a championship, C.J. Stroud hearing the same, he's not ready nonsense. Even Mahomes had people questioning whether he was too raw, too off-script, too different. The great ones all face some kind of resistance early on, some kind of friction that forces them to sharpen who they are. And Shedeur, he's walking through fire already. Critics, skeptics, a coach who won't even say his name, a home burglary in his first appearance, pressure from a city starving for greatness. And he's responding like a franchise quarterback, calm, controlled, confident, delivering when it matters. That's how you know this isn't hype. This is real. And here's the twist people aren't ready for. This controversy might actually speed up his rise. Because moments like this, they expose the cracks, they force decisions, they accelerate timelines. If Stefanski keeps hesitating while Shedeur keeps ascending, we already know which side the organization is going to choose. The quarterback, the future. The guy who gives this franchise hope. And don't underestimate that word, hope. Cleveland hasn't had a quarterback the city could believe in, truly believe in, for a long time. Not just talent, not just highlights, belief, stability, leadership. And for the first time in years, fans are watching someone who feels different, someone who passes the eye test, someone who looks like he belongs. So, here's my prediction, and I'm putting it on record. This moment, this game, this controversy, this divide will go down as the spark that launched the Shedeur Sanders era in Cleveland. It's a culture shift, a rally cry, a line in the sand. And if this kid keeps proving people wrong the way he already is, we might be witnessing the start of a franchise story that the rest of the NFL won't be able to ignore. Because believe me, this isn't the end of the drama. It's the beginning of the rise,